Hey everyone. I just published the release candidate version of 4.5 to the GitHub. Provided an installer for it, you can all download it, start playing out with it. This is a lot more stable than the beta version, so most of you can download it and actually start using it for in your normal daily environment. But I'll be issuing the final version 4.5 after the internal code fixes and the code documentation and stuff like that in about 3 weeks at the end of the year. So for this version, 4.4.5 RC, this is the release on GitHub page. I put the executive file in here. That's the installer. I'll provide a link to it in the blog post that I'll be doing. And as you can see, I've taken care of most of the issues that were posted on the GitHub issues tracker. The ones that are remaining are, all of them are basically new tools and enhancements to the existing tools. They're not really any more issues remaining with the pyRevit or errors, anything like that. Um, but I'll be continuously obviously upgrading and improving things as we go along. So let me show you really quick. I don't want to make this video too long, so let me just dive in and start showing you what are the updates for this change. So as you can see right up front, that pyRevit has a new look. So I've changed all the icons to a sort of like a uniform, single color icon set. And this is just to make it. I know a lot of companies are moving. A lot of you are moving to Windows 10. This matches better with the Windows 10 style and stuff like that. Especially when Revit 2018 has upgraded its look as well. So it's about time for pyRevit to be to get a new look and not be as colorful as before, I guess. So one of the main triggers for this was I was getting a lot of questions about adding icons and stuff to the pyRevit or Revit's interface in general, and these icons would show up in the correct size and stuff like that. This is generally the reason whenever you get an icon from websites like this online or something like that, the DPI that sits inside the icon is different actually from its size. So this is, for example, is a 96 by 96, but the DPI that's inside the file needs to be set properly by the software that generates that file. Some of these websites don't actually do that because the web doesn't really care about the DPI as much. So, like for example, whenever you get the new update that they did to icons8.com, doesn't really set those APIs correctly in the PNG file. So depending on size of the file that you download, you get a different DPI in it. So that kind of kicked me to start fixing that in my own code. So from now on, anything that you put in here as an icon, let's talk about the match icon. I've actually started using 96 by 96 icons. As you can see, they're very sharp looking, nice icons. I am fixing the DPI on this image on the fly to match it to the Revit user interface. And I'm showing the icons twice the size of, in basically 2 times higher resolution than the original Revit icons. This means that for example, if this is a 32 by 32 pixel icon that's required, I'm actually putting a 64 by 64 with a higher DPI resolution. So it basically pushes Revit to fit that icon inside this, which gives you a nicer look. Now, so this is how it looks. This is especially useful if you're using scaling on your monitors, because a lot of us are moving to higher resolution monitors. So your Revit is running on a monitor that's high resolution, and you might set the scaling on that monitor on the windows for that monitor to something other than 100% to just make the UI components look nicer and sharper. So for example, this is the Revit icons at 150% basically monitor scaling. So you see the fonts are nice and stuff like that, but the icons, especially like the 16 by 16s or these, they're 32 by 32, so they get scaled up and they are blurry. And this is the new pyRevit icons in that 150% resolution. You see that they're the sharpest they can be. Now, the downside of this is that for normal resolution monitors, you can see that the 16 by 16s are a little bit blurrier than before. They're not as sharp as they should be. This is a general, like, eternal problem with very small icons. As you can see, like 16 by 16 icons that the Revit has are super sharp. This is the reason for this is that they're designed to be 16 by 16 and they're pixel perfect. So somebody has opened the file that's 16 by 16, draw that in using, on the pixels to make sure that this is as sharp as it could be. When you get an icon from a website like this, even if you change it to 16 by 16, it actually has an SVG file in the backend that it would scale down to that size. So they're never going to be pixel perfect unless you actually go in and design those icons by yourself. Over time, I'll start modifying these icons to make them look as sharp as they should be and as nice as they can be for this size. But just bear with me until they're updated. But for this time, if you're using a high resolution monitor or just the normal icons, just the 32 by 32 icons are going to look a lot sharper than Revit's own icons on the scaled monitor. So that's a good thing that's coming up. And from now on, you don't even have to worry about fixing the DPIs on your icon. Just throw it in there, and when you reload pyRevit, it actually fixes the icon on the fly. So that's one of the main things that I wanted to talk about. This is the new user interface upgrade for pyRevit. So this is in line with all the other major changes that I want to do to pyRevit in terms of like adding more tools and improving the existing tools and stuff like that. I've done a lot of that for this version, and I'll show you some of the reasons that was holding me back on this effort, basically. One of the things that I really wanted to do up front, that has been my major goal for this 4.5 version, is to provide more user interface features that the pyRevit scripts could use to communicate with the user better. Let me give you an example. You had seen that like the copy state tool before had a window that would give you a bunch of options and stuff like that. One of the things the goal that I had for this version is to improve these windows and these sort of like interfaces that are super simple to use, but they actually do the job. You don't have to create your own windows and customize graphics and stuff like that. You can just use these basic features to communicate with the user, ask for options or input, and show the progress and stuff like that. And kind of like, this helps you not open an output window every time you want to report back a bunch of stuff to the user. Especially for the tools that don't really have to report anything back. A visual feedback or a visual question, anything like that would be nice. So I've added, as you can see, I've added a filter option to this command option. So you can just start typing, and it would filter out the buttons that are available on the screen. I've created a unified styling for all the buttons and all the highlights and stuff like that. And I'll show you really quickly what are these some of these new features are. And I'll do a couple more videos later, which I'm planning to do for creating a script in pyRevit and explaining all the features that are available to the scripts inside the pyRevit environment. So one of the main things that has come up, some of you might have already noticed that there's a search button in here. There's not that that console icon has gone. That console was a work in progress. Every time we clicked on it, that was the notification that we gave you that this is a work in progress command. I finally finished that. I'm calling it pyRevit search, and it's one of the best things that I've ever done for pyRevit, honestly, because it provides a nice interface for finding icons and providing more functionality without the overhead of creating user interface icons and stuff like that. And I'll explain to you in a minute. For the course of this video, I've assigned a shortcut to this search command CO, which I'll just type in instead of clicking on that button. So every time you see this window, the pyRevit search pop up, just know that I've done that. I've pushed that shortcut just like this, for example. So pyRevit search provides a autocomplete search for all the pyRevit tools that are available within all the pyRevit extensions, plus all the postable commands that are provided through the Revit's user interface. For example, if I want to open pyRevit's About window that I want to talk about, I'll just type, and it would autocomplete that for me. You can see you don't have to finish this. You can just hit enter, and it would execute it. And you can see there's a tab icon at the end. You can switch between all the other matches, basically, with whatever you have typed, or you can use up and down to go through these. I'm going to use About right now, so I'm just hitting this, and then hit enter, and it would execute that command for you. This is a complete pyRevit command. There's nothing special about it. That's the exact same thing as you would go here in the About and open this. So let's talk about the About window. As you can see, the About window, I'm a huge fan of. I'm an architect, so I really care about the quality of graphics and stuff like that. So I changed the pyRevit logo to an SVG logo that will look up super sharp on any window, because it's a vector graphics on any window size, anything like that. Whatever monitor size that you have. Revise the pyRevit window to show you the version properly, to show you the details for the version, the branch that you're on. Currently, I'm doing this video on the release branch for version 4.5 RC, which you will be able also to see. This is not the main branch, obviously. The version that running Python, the Iron Python that you were running on, the Rocket mode, if it's available or not, and the same user interface buttons that we had before. I added the YouTube and a couple of other ones. Move the credits to this credits page, because I had a hard time finding all those vector icons for all these companies and people and stuff like that. So I just, I decided to remove them from the About interface and put the credits in here so you can go and check that out always. And I'm adding Portland, Hillsborough, and Reno, the places that I work with on pyRevit, to the list of places that I work on. So it's a new upgrade to the pyRevit window. Obviously, you still have the hidden click features on it. So if you click on this, it'll actually take you to, sorry. So if you click on this, it'll actually take you to the commit list on the pages, which is nice. That's a quick way of getting to those places. So anyway, that's it. Search. This is what we were talking about. So you saw that I searched for the about command. Like, for example, another example is that a lot of times my friends ask me, there was this button in pyRevit, where is it located? I can't find it. So let's say you're looking for the tool that would list the unreferenced views for you. So you can just start typing unreferenced and then say, yep, find unreferenced views, hit enter, and it would find all those and run the tool, and you would see the results for that tool. As you can see, the output window has also a styling that matches the new pyRevit style, and I've also added visit styling to these links. So whichever one that you've clicked on already will show up in a different color. This is especially helpful if you're using. I'm going to select a bunch of objects. Especially helpful if you're using the where's that tool? Yeah, list selected as clickable items, like this one. There is one that it says all elements, and there's another one that you can click on, and it would select that specific tool. Element for you. Also, one of the things that I added to this, I'm going to create a new file in here just to show this easier, because that's a big project. So you got a situation like this, and you have these objects selected, and you would use the list clickable tool, and then whenever you click on these, it actually fits that in the window. That's why I provided all elements also. So if you click on that, it actually selects everything and fits those in. So it's super easy. It works in all the different views, 3D views, 2D views, everything like that. It's pretty cool. It gives you visual feedback of whichever ones that you have selected. Also, they're indexed if you want to remember them and stuff like that. So that's available. To continue about the pyRevit search, I'm going to give you an example of. Obviously, you see that you can search through all the pyRevit commands, and basically, the search pattern that I'm using is very similar to what is provided on the Mac OS operating system. If there's a direct match, it'll show it to you like this. But if it's not a direct match and you're providing only part of that name, it would show you the actual command with a dash that this is something that you're matching. Like, for example, if I say unreferenced, see, unref that I've typed happens here on the text on the command name, so it actually shows it to you here that this is the one that you'll be running. But if you're actually find all group, if you're literally typing the exact name of the command, it wouldn't do that. It would just show it to you in a sort of like a grayed out behind whatever you're actually typing. So it's a very nice visual feedback. And whenever you see this enter button typing showing up at the end, it means that there's only one match. So you should really, if you want to execute it, you can just hit enter here. If there are more matches, you see that there's a tab icon at the end, so you can immediately that there are more options that are matching with whatever you have typed. Now let's talk about running Revit's own commands. Let's say you want to do a purge unused. All the postable commands in Revit, they're single words. So just type it like that, and that would launch the command. Let's push unused in this case. Let's launch, for example, patterns, fill patterns. As you can see, it's a single word. They're all tied to each other. So if you like that, it opens the fill pattern window. Obviously, this is helpful. Well, for a lot of these commands, they use daily to assign shortcuts to them, but this is very helpful for the ones that you don't. Like, for example, I know that there was this angular dimension type that I was looking for, and I can just hit that, and it would open that angular dimension settings for you. So you don't really have to memorize where exactly what that in the user interface. You can actually search and find them for it. This search window has a bunch of more features related to pyRevit commands. I'll show them to you at the end of this video because it's really related to people that actually develop code and tools for pyRevit. So I'll show you these features in the end. For everybody else, you can just assign a shortcut to it and start using it. Let me know, give me feedbacks on it. I absolutely love it and started using it right up front. This is one of the things that I really wanted to do for a long time, but it took me a while to actually sit down and finish it. And it's all written in full Python. It's not C# or anything like that. So you can look into the code and see how it's done. So let's talk about the other features that I've added in this, especially related to the functionality and the kind of like features that are available to pyRevit scripts. So we talked about, you have seen this before. We talked about this before. There's the filter on it and stuff like that. One of the other things that I've added to it is a switch. So like for example, if you want to go to views and do rename selected views, the views that I have selected in the project browser will be renamed. But now there is this feature that you can add to this, which is a switch basically. So for this tool, I'm giving the user the option to show the report, to see the report or not see the report, for turning the view names to uppercase, let's say in the example. So if I click on that, it'll just rename those views to uppercase, and actually show that to you. I don't know which one I had really selected. Anyway, or you can see the report. I'm just going to do lowercase this time, and this means that it'll actually show me the report of what it's renaming. So it renamed this view to this, which is the lowercase name. I'll do in another video. I'll show you exactly how these work. The interface is super simple. It's just a matter of telling this window what switches you have, and it would activate those switches, and it would report back to the script, so you can decide what your actions are based on that. These are the utilities that are really important to me because they're simple, they're uniform across all the platforms, and it basically do the job. The upgrades to this help me to in the pick tool. Sometimes I get questions about, like, can you add this other category to this pick tool as well? I've added, if you hover over the pick tool and go to the tooltip, you see that the shift click version of this actually lists all the categories. So if you shift click on the pick tool, it'll show you all the options, all the categories that are available within that Revit environment. So you can just start searching for it. Let's say you're you're looking for all the tags, maybe for the let's say door tags. Yeah, door tags. You can really quickly filter down that list and pick it, and do whatever you want. You can obviously use this in your own scripts too, but this is really an example of how these improved interfaces will help me make the pyRevit tools better. Another thing that you'll notice is that I've combined a lot of these tools into one another. Like for example, all those like ghost tools are this now, and then you open that and you can pick the flavor of that tool that you want to run. This is better than having 3 different tools, because the 3 different tools means a longer load time. So as much as you can combine these tools into each other, that would be actually great. Another example is I have to actually draw something in here. Let me go to my other project. Yes. Let's say I do want to use the flip tool. All those flip options that you can see, they're all combined into one tool now that you can use to flip the elements and stuff like this. So I've tried to combine. I've gotten rid of a lot of these scripts in there and combined them into one. So this is actually very helpful. Another example of this I'm going to show you is a progress bar that's available to pyRevit scripts. This is obviously different than a progress bar that you would see on the output window. I'm going to show you that in a second. That's the progress bar that is still available for the output windows. Let me actually close a couple of these windows here. for your output window. It's a super nice progress bar. If you are printing something on the output and continuously reporting to the user, this is actually very helpful to show the progress. You don't have to open a different window with with a different progress and stuff like that. But a lot of times that you have a tool that doesn't really want to print anything, but you do want to show the progress as it's the tool is going on. So there's a simple progress bar available for pyRevit tools now, which works like this. Basically, it shows up on top of your window, and it shows you. This is an example, obviously. It shows the progress, and it's got an indeterminate version also. So for a progress that's long term and you don't really know how long it would take, you can show it in indeterminate mode. And also, it's got a cancel button that it can, your script can track that cancel, and if the user requested a cancel, you can actually stop running the script. One of the nicest thing about these progress bars is that I'm going to run it again. It actually snaps to the top of your window. So whatever, if you have multiple Revit instances, it's not on top of your screen. It snaps to the top of your Revit window, which is super, super helpful. This is the same system as I had before for the prompt that the match tool or the other tool will give you. See, these prompts also snap to the top of your window. This is what I really like more than the prompt that shows up at the bottom of the screen in the status bar, which nobody can see literally. It's a hard place to notice that. But this is a lot more prominent, a lot easier to use. It actually, it's very smart about the screen sizing and stuff like that. So if you have multiple monitors set up or have different scales and stuff like that, it actually finds the correct size of your window and it shows that window correctly on the correct size. Super helpful. I absolutely love them, and I'll be using them more and more in my own scripts. There are two different types of bundles available for pyRevit now. One of them, I'm calling it a panel button. I figured out a way to add panel configurations to pyRevit. So if you can, I'm actually going to show you this. Any panel, if you throw a under panel bundle that you have, if you throw a panel button, this is just like any other script. So if you already have a script in your panel that is the configuration for the set of tools, you can just rename the extension to panel button, and instead of showing up in the actual panel, it'll show up as the configuration panel, as the configuration button in there. So this is available. I'll do more videos on this, but basically all the features, 100% of the features that are available to all the other scripts are available to panel buttons as well. So if I hover over it, you can see that there's nice tooltip. If I alt-click on it, it'll open the bundle for me. If you shift-click on it, that would be a shift-click option. The control-click would run it in the debug mode, just like any other pyRevit script that you have. This is one of the greatest things that I've added to pyRevit, honestly, because a lot of people are developing custom tools for themselves, and it would really help them to put a panel configuration button in there that customizes the behavior of those set of tools related to a specific topic. Related to how the pyRevit search is available now, I've added another bundle type to pyRevit, which is called a no button. So I'm going to use this as an example because it's sitting in the same folder. It's actually part of the development right now. So this command, no button command, is of type no button. This means that it's a complete pyRevit script. The only thing that's different with it is that it doesn't exist in the user interface. So the only way you can run it is through the pyRevit search. So I can say no button command and hit enter, and it would give me a bunch of options, just like the other one that I showed you. Sorry. No button switches, let's say that, and it would show me that both switches are active, and that's the example option help. That's the one that the user selected. This would greatly help you to add more scripts to pyRevit without the trouble of creating all the user interfaces and stuff for it, or finding icons and stuff like that. And they're sort of like more hidden also. So if you don't want everybody to know about them, you want to sort of like have it in the back end for your own stuff, you can do that too. And they're only available through the search. You can only find it through here, obviously. One of the things that I didn't mention about the search is that it's actually smart about the context of your script. So, for example, this memory append doesn't get activated unless I have a selection. Actually, let me change my options. User interface, so it doesn't switch on me constantly. Okay, so if I have this, see, it gets activated only when I have a selection. Now, if I have a selection and run the search and say memory append, it shows up here. But if I don't have a selection and say search and say memory append, it's not there because it's not active in this context. So that is also the pyRevit search is smart about the contexts. Let's see what else do I want to talk about. Okay, so we talked about the progress bars. We talked about the panel configuration. I want to talk to you about the tooltip improvements that I've done. So let's show you this tool. If you hover over it, there's a video attached to it. So this is as simple as that. If you open the bundle, you can throw a tooltip.swf file in your bundle and it'll show up as the video on your tooltip. The SWF version, it's an old Flash version, and it's there because Revit uses it. But record your screen using using any software that's provides you with GIF on videos and stuff like that, and do the excuse me, kind of messed up here. Okay. And then you can go to like free websites like this, GIF to SWF. Just upload the file in there really quickly. It would give you an SWF. Throw that in your bundle, and everything would be good. It even works on the panel configuration button. So if you hover over this, you can see that there's a video also attached to this as well. You can use this. Obviously, start doing this for the scripts that really matters that help, because all these extra functionality will increase the load time and stuff like that. So just use them wisely. And there is another thing that's available to pyRevit tools is that you see that F1, press F1 for more help at the bottom of this tooltip that shows up. If you define, I might have shown this to you before in the previous update video, but if on your scripts you define a help URL to the URL of that video that you want, it actually assigns that to the context help for that tool. So when you hover over it, if you hit F1, it'll take you to that help window, whatever that page lives on the internet. This is taking you to my YouTube video for how to create how to use the match tool. One of the other things that I did is that I moved the make pattern tool outside that edit and sort of like restructured these to be simpler. This because I know this is such a popular tool. It makes sense to be available on the easily on the main panel. There is another thing that's also available to pyRevit. If you go under settings, one quick thing is that I moved the rocket mode to the top of this. So please make sure you activate it, try it out. It's super advanced and helpful, and makes everything so much faster. But what I wanted to talk to you about is that the output window has a custom styling right now. I'm using the output. This is the default one, output styles.css. If you know how to create web CSS files, you can create your own, and you can go find this file and take a look at it and see if you actually, I can show it to you really quickly. So it basically looks like this for every type of entries, every line that's being printed to the output, the error entry, log defaults, different types, the emojis, the progress indicator. You can customize everything about the output window. So that would make it just sign your CSS in here, and your output window will be looking completely differently. This is obviously for you guys that know how HTML and CSS works, but it's very simple to. You can just basically make a copy of this file and start changing these colors and see how it gets everything affected. One of the important ones that you may want to change. This is the element link. That's the link that when you click on it selects an element. That's the element link base color, and then when it's visited, I'm changing it to a different color here. So this is also available for all of you that want to customize the output windows to match your desires. Let me see. Let's go through my list. Okay, yeah. The last thing I want to show you here on the backend basically is that under site packages, I'm providing a lot more IronPython libraries that I thought. I went through Anaconda, which is an installation of Python for Windows, and kind of tried to figure out which one is useful. Like bson is the binary JSON format library, which could be useful. Requests is here that if you want to do web requests and stuff like that, that's super helpful. And a bunch of other stuff. 6 is a really good platform that it's used on many. It's a requirement for many of the other other libraries. There's an XLS, XML, I'm sorry, the Excel writer module and Excel reader module that's available. Start playing with that. I haven't fully tested everything in here. I've just tested to make sure that it loads in R and Python. Everything should be fine. Let me know if you see any errors, and I'll do my best to fix them. Let's talk about some of the tool improvements that I've done in this session. So let's talk about the upgrades to the pattern maker tool. So one of the pyRevit fans sent me this file and told me this pattern it's not accurate enough. See, all the points don't align with each other. Here's the reason. This pattern file, this pattern design is about, actually let me change this from millimeters to fractional feet inches so you can see that easier. So it's about 12 feet wide. It's a pretty big tile. The limitation that I had with Revit patterns and CAD patterns is that there are about 800 feet units wide. So this would greatly limit the number of tiles that could be repeated in that sort of like, let's say domain, let's say the pattern domain. That would cause the make pattern tool to not be able to find the exact angles that it would be repeated. I don't want to go too much details into this, but AutoCAD patterns and Revit patterns are not like tiles that get repeated over a certain area. They're actually, each one of these, I have this make pattern tool will find the next occurring aligned instance of this line that happens somewhere in that tile space and create a line pattern that has a solid piece in here and an empty piece on the other side to basically create a certain series of lines with specific patterns that would result in this sort of like pattern that you decided. So it's much more complex than just tiling these together. Whenever you have had a tile as big as this, they would create like a lower resolution in the make pattern tool because it was limited to that maximum tile size, maximum domain space, or the pattern space of CAD and AutoCAD and Revit. What I really cared about before was that whenever you go to like the fill pattern tool, you would be able to see your the thumbnail of your pattern over here. So for example, this one, the marble hatch, that's the thumbnail. You can see something in here. But I realized that for very large hatches, this is not really super actually helpful because you don't really exactly see what's going on in there. So I added this option so if I'm going to show it to you now, I added this improvement to the make pattern tool that, first of all, I get rid of all the extra stuff in the user interface. I also added a combo box in here that shows you all the existing, depending on model pattern or detail pattern, it shows you all the existing names, and it would basically have auto completion on it. So you can say marble hatch and it would auto complete, so you don't have to type it exactly every time you want to update that pattern. And then this is the option that I've added, use highest resolution. So I made this tool smart enough that it knows that if it can't find the correct angle for that line in the limited domain, by checking this checkbox, you will allow the tool to go beyond the domain and find the exact angles that you care about. Now, nothing will go wrong, honestly. The only thing is that I'm actually going to do it now, and you can see that the pattern will get updated in here. And you can see it's super high resolution. You can see it still breaks in here. That's because the tile is not designed perfectly. So the top of the tile with the bottom of the tile doesn't really match exactly. But everything else inside the tile, they're perfectly matching each other. This works for big tools, for small patterns, big patterns, everything like that. The only drawback to this is that, so when you go into fill patterns now, Revit will show you the snapshot like this because it can't resolve. It's bigger than its expectation. It still renders correctly in your views and everything like that, but you won't be able to see the snapshot. So make the decision based on what you care about. If your pattern fits inside it, if you created your pattern and went inside the fill pattern window and saw that this is happening, this is happening and you don't like it, just turn this checkbox off. Turn this checkbox off, and try recreating your pattern and see if you're happy with the resolution and everything else. But it should be good. So this is the improvement to the make pattern tool. Another improvement is that I've added a tool to reorder selected viewports. So if you have a couple of viewports on a sheet, you can actually select one of them and hit reorder. Let's see if I have some. Forgot to create an example for this, but let's see. Let's use this one as an example. If you click on this, you can send it to back, you can bring it to front, and it would basically bring it in front of every other viewport that is on that view. This is obviously a big file, so it's taking it a while for. I'm actually going to cancel this. Okay. Anyway, so that's a new tool that's been added. I've customized a lot of these tools, combined them and stuff like that. I've improved these tools so they copy up the selected viewports. Every time we click on them, we can actually select the destination sheets in here instead of picking them in the view browser, which was super complex. Obviously, it works on your active view. So when you click on this, you should be on the active view that has the source viewports, and then you pick the destination viewports and then hit the select sheet and then come here and pick the viewports that you want to move or copy or update to the other sheets. The move selected viewports works exactly the same. Pin all the viewports, obviously also ask for the list of sheets that you want to work on. You can just say check all to apply it to pin the viewports on all sheets. This select sheet system is super. It's uniform across all the pyRevit tools, and it's searchable. You can filter whatever you want. So if you say floor plan, it'll filter for the options that are available to you. You might have seen it when using the wipe command. It's the same window that basically lists a different set of things. You can filter them and stuff like that. They're super handy interfaces. Let's see what else is in here. Rename selected sheets, obviously. The batch select tool is still there. I added a video tooltip to this so you can easily see how this tool works and stuff like that. Another improvement was, I'm just going to go through a couple of these. You can see that I've really cut down the number of these tools and combine them together. Another improvement that I've done to the print ordered sheet tool is that I've activated the combine into one file, and I figured out how to do this. It actually, when you do this, and whatever order that you have for these sheets that you have, it actually inserts invisible characters in the sheet number to force Revit to sort that into that order. Because whenever you use the combine into one file, that's the trouble that I had before. When you use this, I have to create a view list, which is basically a sheet list, a view list object that is a sheet list of for all the sheets that I care about, and send it to the print module. But when I send it, it doesn't follow the order of those sheets that I've added to the view. It just prints them the way it wants. Basically, sort them by sheet number. So I had to. So if I have this object, if I have this option activated, it actually inserts invisible characters in front of the sheet number, prints it, and then corrects all the sheet numbers back to the original. So your file won't be getting affected, but the print that comes out of this has all the sheets in the correct order as you have it in your sheet index. So that's another improvement to that tool. And then let's see. I've shown you a bunch of other stuff like the rename tool. There's some minor improvements, like this one has an option and things like that. So start playing with them and see if there's anything that you would like about it. The wipe has a series of options for removing only unreferenced views of different types. So if you want to remove all the sections that are not referenced anywhere, you can use that, and all the other view types. Obviously, all the other standard views still exist. I've added those in there, and added for copy state. You can now copy the crop region of a view and paste it on another view. So that's also handy and helpful. And I think that's as far as it goes in terms of like the tools that I've added, because they're not really that many. It's mostly like improvements to the existing and just combining tools together and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but more tools will come up in the future, and I hope you like it. This is almost everything that I wanted to talk to you about this the release candidate version. This is the direction that pyRevit is going. I really hope that you like it and start using these features. I'll do another videos on how what different types of features are available to pyRevit scripts that you can use, like the progress bar, like the command options and stuff like that. I'll do those. To end the video, I want to talk about the extra options that are available in pyRevit search for the people that are actually. So if you develop scripts for pyRevit, you might want to listen to this part of the video. Let's say you want to have, first of all, /help will give you helps about the commands and options basically that are available in the search. So if you do that, it'll give you a list of options, and I'm going to put this on the side of the screen so we can go through them together. Help command, help about. Let's say, for example, actually I'm going to use the match tool. It opens that help URL that we talked about for that tool. It does that, so you can check it easily. You can also say doc and print the doc string, the tooltip that basically is defined in that script. There is info about the tool that it will create. That will print all the script source and all the bundle name, blah blah blah, everything that's the syspath that are defined in the. These are basically the parameters that the tool will run on every time you click on the tool. So that's kind of important. And then there is clean, which runs the tool with the clean in a clean engine, and there is full, which run it in a full form engine. So if you really need to run a tool in a full form engine or a clean engine, you can use these two options. You can hit open about, for example, and it opens the bundle for you. So that's an easy way of doing this. Or you can say show. I'm just going to use about in this example. You can type any tool, let's say make pattern, and it would show the source in a pyRevit output window. So if you want to, if you're used to, like me, if you're used to copy and paste code from multiple scripts that you have, this is actually a good way of doing it. You can say Atom and then say that, and it opens in an instance of Atom that you're running. You can say Notepad++ and then add about, oops, type it correctly, about, and it opens it in Notepad++. I might not have done it on my own machine here. Oh yeah, so I haven't added the path of the notepad in this machine to the system paths. So just make sure you add it in there so it shows up. But then you also have the availability of Notepad itself. So it will show the source in the Notepad. This is also a UTF-8 with different line endings, so it looks weird. And there's also this alternate flag that you can activate on any of these options if you want to run it on the alternate script that's in there. Like for example, the match has a inside its bundle. I'm going to open the bundle for match tool. So you know that there are two scripts. The one is the config, which is called the alternate script, which you run it by shift clicking on that script. So if you want to see the source for that, for example, I can say show alt match, and it would show me the source for that config file. That's basically the configuration for the match tool. That's almost it. Let me know if you have any ideas about other stuff, other commands that you can add to this. One of the arguments is that it would be nice if you could, for example, type a pyRevit command in here and provide some more options into it. I really thought about this. That's a bad example. I don't know, A, B, whatever flags and options. If you you could add to this. This is a great interface. It's a Unix interface, and I love this. This is great if you want to write this down in a script file with alongside a bunch of other commands with a bunch of other flags, and basically create a new script that does a lot more complex task in a sort of in a terminal environment. This is great for that. For pyRevit scripts, they're complex. They deal with a complex database inside Revit, so there are a lot of options and stuff like that that you may want to be able to manipulate. So I decided against it. All the options that are available inside this search is through this, which are basically provide you information or some other features around that pyRevit script, like the help thing. But to run the command, you actually type the name of the command. Now, if you want your command to have more options, it's very easy. Just say for example, I'm going to use this as an example. Just use this, and your commands will show up after this. I'm not going to move my hand to the mouse. I'm just going to tab through this and say, okay, I want this switch, I want this switch, and I want this option to run. And I'm just going to hit enter. So it's super easy still. You don't really have to type it. It's actually better than typing all these options in front of this, because this way you have to remember everything. You have to know what options are available, how exactly you have to type them for that command and stuff like that. But with this method, with this user interface method, you don't really have to remember anything. It provides you with all the functionality, all the switches, everything you want. You just activate it and hit enter, and you run that command. So this is basically all the stuff that I really wanted to talk to you about. I hope you like it. I'm really excited about this because this would help me. This important step, will help me to start improving pyRevit scripts and not worry about the creating a different user interface for each one of them inside the scripts separately. Like for example, this tool that would create, you had this option of like selecting a revision. Previously, this window would look differently. Now I've modified all these tools to use the exact same type of window that is available to all of them. These windows are highly customizable. You can use them in your interfaces, in your commands and stuff like that. And I'll do videos on this so you can see how you can use these. But basically, this step was really important to me. Just make sure that I get rid of these user interface things. So if I want to create a tool that doesn't have a output, but it wants to show the progress to the user, I can actually use something for that. That's, it's nice, it conveys the point, and it's also accessible to everybody else. So yeah, with this, I'll end the video. I hope you like these updates. Let me know about the your comments if you know any other ideas about other stuff that you want to add to the search, and start using it. See if you like it and stuff. Keep me posted. Thank you.